Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card. So today's another one of the sort of very broad, this could be kind of about anything sort of readings where I'm asking what's the next step in your path, your journey, your situation. So they could be very similar sorts of paths across the poles, or we could be looking at very different sorts of things. But I wanted to keep it fairly broad. I like to do these every once in a while when I've got some new decks that I want to showcase. And I just want to do them on a broader theme so that you get to see quite a few different decks. If part of the reason that you like to come to these readings is to see decks, because I know I do have some other readers and deck collectors who watch the channel. Also, it allows me just to have fun and use the new decks. For anybody who's not interested in that but just likes the reading, it gives different sort of artistic and sort of symbolic sort of ways of looking at things. So this whole reading is all but one of the decks that I'm using in it are new at the point that I'm filming this. I would point out that I will film this and then it may publish fairly soon, or it might be a while away, and in between I may move things around and one or more of these decks may turn up in another reading I do that gets scheduled ahead of it, because I film quite a bit ahead and then I go by my guidance from Spirit about what's the next topic to actually bring forward in the schedule. But at this point, this is me exploring them all. So they're all kind of new to me. So one I've used in, or actually a couple I've used in private readings, but I haven't used them in public readings yet. But still, all pretty relatively new. So, and that's the same for most of the oracles except for what we'll finish up with, which I've used a few times before. So that's just for those who are interested in the cards and all that kind of thing. As I say, the topic today is what's the next step in your path, your journey, your situation, whatever it might be. So what I did is we're using a different tarot deck for each pile. So you could be drawn to the energy of the tarot deck. I'm going to talk a little bit about that as we go through with the choice. And one of the tarot decks, which is the first one, has a companion oracle deck, but that companion oracle deck is going to be in all of the readings. So, but it will only actually be paired up with its tarot in the first pile. So, what I have done is I've shuffled the decks and I've asked Spirit that the first major arcana card I deal out be the choice and be part of it, sets some of the theme. And there's some other cards under there that I don't know what they are. They've been intuitively shuffled, which will also set the theme before we explore it with the tarot. So pile one has the Sage of Support from the Familiar's Way Tarot. That's actually the Hierophant. Now, the thing about the Familiar's Way, so that you know, because it may be something that draws you to it, is just as you see here, there are animals and a human. That's sort of like the genius of this is there's lots of animal decks and then there's lots of very human depictions of the tarot archetypes. What Gillian Wilde, who was the amazing creator of the Naked Heart Tarot, also did here is that she combined the two. So there's a sort of sense of the sort of animal familiars, animal friends, animal support that go with the more sort of human side, also the human condition or human experience of the tarot archetype. So that's what goes throughout this deck. Makes for a very beautiful and very diverse sort of deck, which I really love. But that's the sort of theme. So if you're kind of drawn to sort of something that connects you to animal spirits and all of that thing, that might be why you would go to pile one. You don't have to. Do you go to more than one reading if you want, but that's the energy of that deck. The second deck is the Starbright Tarot. Now this is a very astrology-based tarot, so it talks about, you see here with Andromeda Beauty, we've got the Empress card here that talks about constellations as well as the normal sort of things like sun signs and so forth. Very beautiful, stylized sort of art. It's a very celestial, I would say, is the feeling of that particular deck. So if that draws you, that's pile number 2, or if the Empress card draws you, that's pile number 2. Pile number 3 has Adjustment, which is justice. This is from the Dream of the Nile Tarot. So this is a very Egypt-based, Egypt mysteries, Egypt gods, all of that kind of thing based deck. It's by the brilliant creator Emma Zhang, who did the Dream Vision Tarot, which you will have seen many times on my channel. So this is very much for those who are called to ancient Egypt, to channeled messages, because I think Emma is an amazing channeler in terms of her art, to the mysteries in many ways, or to the concept of justice, because that's what this particular major arcana talks about. That might call you to pile 3. There'll be something in that energy that of those tarot cards, the cards themselves and the tarot decks, that are about what this journey or path is. So as I say, that's meant to help you choose. but by all means choose intuitively. By all means just go to pile 2 if you always go to pile 2. By all means go to more than one reading if you want, because it could be a couple of situations or journeys that there are messages about. But whatever works for you, when you know what reading or readings you want, as always, I've got the timestamps in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Familiar's Way Tarot with the Sage of Support, so the Hierophant, which is many things. It can be around our learnings and our structures and our disciplines and so forth spiritually. It has a very spiritual side of things. Religion, dogmas, sometimes if it's working in a more restrictive sense, learning and awakening if it's working in a more open sense. It can be all those sort of things that are very sort of spiritual, and I think that's what this is about, to be honest. I think for most of you this is a spiritual reading because of the other cards that we have here. But it can also represent itself in other ways. I sometimes see the Hierophant or the Sage card here as being in organisations. If you're thinking about your career and the next step there, this may be in areas where ethics are incredibly important, where traditions and foundations are important, where regulatory energy is important. So it could be something in that. If you are feeling drawn to the next step in a career, then this might be about moving to somewhere where the sort of ethical observance of appropriate tradition is involved. It could be about things in a relationship around do we sort of move in together, do we get married, do we do those sort of things, that kind of almost traditions around connection, if that's what you're thinking about. But I do think for most, because of the other cards we have here, we're talking about something spiritual, though it could, with life purpose here, connect to something around vocation and so forth. So basically what we have here firstly is from the Galactic Guides deck. We have two particular constellations. Firstly, Lyra, which is about confidence, purpose, power, fulfillment. So there's something here about this is the next step where you feel very confident, you're very powerful, you know what you're doing. So I think there'll be a lot when we're looking into the tarot that tells us that you're ready for a next step and that this isn't new. I don't think your next step, I don't think this next step is starting something new, but I do think that it's something you're confident, ready for, and you're going to either get a surprise or you're going to get an aha moment that takes you to the next step. And that's because of these cards, which I'll get to. But you're coming into it with confidence. You're also highly protected, very logical about what you do. It's interesting. So of all the major arcana cards that could be around spiritual things, you've got the one that is most about traditions, sort of things that would be written, learning, that kind of thing. So there's a very strong connection to your mind here. It's not the High Priestess, which is very numinous. It's, and that may come up in the reading, but at this point, that like the overall step here, I think, is either the acquisition of knowledge or the application of knowledge or the review and the refining of knowledge, tradition, and so forth in some way. And you're very protected with it, very analytical. But there's a bit of a cause. You have a bit of a cause around this. So there could be a wish to shake things up. Now, that may be because of these cards. So these are from the Arcanum Vitae deck. And they're analogous, these cards, to major arcana cards. So Awakening is like the Judgment card, and Life Purpose is like Chariot. So certainly the way that this particular creator looks at the Chariot's very similar to me. I think it's very much a card of destiny, of direction. So this is something that you're meant to do. It's connected to your life purpose. It's helping you get the direction that you need. There might be an aha moment with the Judgment card that says, now I know what I'm meant to do. Now I've learnt enough to know what I mean to do, or now I've come across a system that actually needs some revision because it's become too rigid, or now I know what career direction I want to go in that's going to align my ethics, my values, my spiritual sense, and my skills. And I know it because I've really, really examined it and researched it. I'm ready to go forward. But there's definitely a sense that either just before, in a sense, you've come to this reading, or very soon on this path, there's going to be an aha moment, and it's going to be like a calling. There's going to be almost, now that you've crossed this threshold, there's no going back. So whatever this is, you are sort of like committed to it once you move in that direction. This is why it's very important that you understand the sort of industry that you're working in, if it's work, the sort of spiritual tradition you're in, if it's a spiritual tradition. But you're ready and you are confident, and you know that you understand these things well enough and that you could learn whatever you needed to do. But I do feel for most of you, this is something about a spirit path, as I say, or a career type of decision, I would say, that is connected to your beliefs and your spiritual values and so forth. It's possible it could be about a relationship, but it doesn't feel as much like that. It feels much more around traditions, knowledge, spirituality, and the application of all of that. So let's get a little bit more information from the tarot. So let's just firstly see a little bit more about what this next step is. Then we're going to have a look at what is really clear and seen on the path that you know in this next step, and then also what might be hidden or yet to be revealed to you. So a little bit more about what this really is all about. We have the Devil. We have the Two of Wands, Two of Spirit. We have the Empress reversed. Sorry, I just have to sort of like realize what some of these are. We have Temperance. And we have the High Priestess reversed. Yeah, this is interesting. I said, like you might get the High Priestess, but it's more this, and the High Priestess is reversed. I feel like this is like it either is really a tradition where knowledge is more important at the moment for the next step and understanding the purpose of it, or unraveling it and building something better, whatever it is that you're aiming to do, or it is that that this is just about learning. It's like it's not about connecting in so much to intuition. It's connecting into your intellect, your confidence and your skills, and what that's telling you about a belief system, a structure. I think for some of you, you may decide, your next step may be to decide to study some sort of tradition spiritually, very, very, in a lot of detail, and sort of really move into doing that. So, but it's more, I'm going to learn the ways before I apply my intuition. So it'd be like, some people when they learn tarot, they just kind of get a sense of the cards and then they just read intuitively, and it's sort of, it's more that than really understanding the structure and the symbolism and the history. You'd be more likely to go, I want to know the structure, I want to understand the history, I want to understand all the symbolism, I want to get all of that so that I have that dictionary of knowledge, and then I'll use it intuitively. It's that direction. That's what you're doing. And whatever you're doing, there's something about knowledge that you're bringing in. And it's not imbalance. It's saying here with Temperance, it's not imbalance. This is not your mind taking over too much. I've actually been saying this in private readings a bit lately because the mind has been coming up a lot, and I'm wondering whether it's going to be very important in 2024, because I feel like 2024 is going to be a very strange and disruptive year. But it's saying that there is nothing imbalanced about focusing on your mind, and it's one of your skills. There is a little bit of a thing in some more what I call the new age end of spirituality, where it's, get out of your head, don't think. But like we have all the senses. We're meant to do all of it. Of course, if you overthink things, you can shut down your intuition too much. Of course, if you go just into your intuition too much, nothing that you get might make sense. It's all about balance. And this is saying that it's balanced. And that I feel like this is a temporary thing. I think that this group is highly intuitive, but you're also very good at research or understanding or the structures of things. And this is saying the balance at the moment is more about that than about the intuition. And it's more about understanding systems than it is about creating them, because the Empress is reversed. So even if eventually you wanted to create something, at this point, that's not the step. This is not the step. The step at the moment is keeping those aims, the intuitive and the creative, under kind of strict regulation in a way, while you do the research, because there's some aha moments, there's some clarity about focus and purpose that you're meant to get. It is meant to be creative with the Two of Wands, but you've been doing stuff for a while, but this is like almost a branch off. It's like you've been going down a road and this is a branch off that you need to do. It feels to me almost like a branch off that you do for a while to acquire a bunch of knowledge, then you come back to the original thing and move forward. And I feel then that the Empress and the High Priestess becomes more dominant. But at this point in time, this is branching off because there is a cause here, and this is the feeling that around the warrior. There is a cause around something that is entrapping in some way. It's almost like, again, if I use the analogy of you're going down the path, you've hit almost a brick wall, and the brick wall may be about systems or whatever. Like you can't actually go further till you learn about them. That's probably the best interpretation of it. Or you've actually realized that there's something about existing systems, whether it's in a workplace, spiritually, whatever it might be, that have become actually a shadow thing now. They're too entrapping. They're not balanced. So you've hit that. You're doing a detour. This is a detour, but interestingly enough, when you do the detour, you actually get a much stronger aha moment, understanding about what you're meant to do and why you need to do this. Like, it really does feel to me, it feels to me like you're highly intuitive, and you're normally used to, in spiritual things, being, or even in your life, just being able to kind of wing it, because you're kind of, your instincts are really good, and you move and you move and you move fast, and you're confident and all that. And then you hit this sort of thing where you're up against a monolith, which requires either an entry level, like, I've got to go and study something, or, or I've got to kind of get in with various people and be accepted, or whatever it might be. You've hit that, and you're detouring to do that because it's necessary for the next step. That's fine. And you may later create something out of this, or be even a little bit revolutionary. But at this point in time, it's more that the important thing is to understand the system or the belief structure or whatever it is that is a block. If you're working in some sort of social policy or political area too, it may be you've hit a block where people just do not agree or just will not listen. And you could get frustrated and walk away from it, and then you're not going to realise your full life purpose. Or you could say, okay, instead of me trying to convince you, I'm going to spend a bit of time listening to you. I'm going to spend a bit of time understanding you, because I think then you would be able to understand how to get past the block, to find the balance, to all that kind of thing. So there's some sort of learning, there's some sort of looking at a system or a belief structure or whatever that's necessary, and it's very analytical. And it's like a detour, and that will take you where you need to go in whatever way this is working. So that's the next step on the path. So what can you be really conscious of in doing this? What is really clear to you about this next step? We have the 6 of air reversed, the 7 of pentacles, the integration of spirit. I just have to double check which of the court cards that is. And, oh wow, the Tower. Okay, so that's the King of Wands reversed. Integration is kings in this. This is what happens when you get really excited when you get a deck and you want to go straight out there. If the slight differences one maybe need to check as we go through the first time we use it. So as I say, 6 of Swords reversed, 7 of Pentacles, King of Wands reversed, the Tower. Okay, what you do know is that this is a diversion. This is not the path that you thought you were going to be doing. There is some shift here. But you also know that it, in the longer term, is an investment. Like, this is an investment in a better outcome in some way. As I say, it's like if you've been doing really well in a workplace and you've been going on your natural skills, and then you've hit a kind of like, to get to that, I need this sort of qualification. Even if for you think probably you're confident enough to think, I could do it anyway. It doesn't matter. Other people aren't going to agree. This is an investment, and it might take you a bit of a sideline, but it's what's necessary. Whatever this is, you know that it will come out. You also know that there's a lot of ego associated with this. Now, at its worst, you have to deal with your own ego. You may have to kind of consciously put your own ego to sleep, because you are very confident, and working at its best, that's fine. But if you are kind of a bit brash and very confident that you can just do things, you might go, why do I need that? Why should I get that qualification? Why should I do that particular job before I can get that job, or whatever? There could be a kind of impatience if it's you. And you consciously know that for the investment, you've got to slow down a bit. But you could also know that there are egos around you. And this is one of the reasons you have to do this. That it's like, it's like you're not going to get to join the club that feels very elitist and special until you've done the particular steps or whatever. So there's something you know about that. It's something new. It's a diversion. There's ego stuff to deal with. And it is for a very big breakthrough. You also, I think you sense that this is going to give you an awakening with the Tower, or you sense that you're almost a bit, for some of you, you're almost a little bit like a spy going into the den, because it's like you can see major changes are necessary. So in the end, the creative side will come in, but you've got to understand it first. You may see a system is about to fall. You may see that major changes need to occur within a system, spiritually, because it has become very egoic. And it's going to collapse under its own weight, whatever it is. You can see this. It could be even for some of you that you don't have any idea. Like in a workplace, you do get promoted to a particular level, and then you realise, oh my God, this is going on in this organisation, and you're going to have to divert to learn more about something to keep things under control and in balance. But there's some pretty big stuff under this. And you do have the confidence and the analytical ability and the warrior spirit to do it. But it's interesting, we've got the devil and we've got the Tower. There's something about power here, and it may be about you coming into your own power through learning the ways of the other parties involved in this, and then knowing what you would accept and knowing what you would want to change or recreate. So what don't you see? Like, what is a bit hidden or what is a bit challenging about this next step for you? 8 of Swords reversed. 4 of Wands. 7 of Swords reversed. And the Page of Cups. Okay. All right. One of the things that is challenging, or you may be surprised to find, is that there are other people that are very important in this. Beyond maybe if you are dealing with powerful people, there's maybe something else. There's other people. There's a team approach to this. Your energy is very smart, very strong, very confident, on your path, knowledgeable. So you may think this is just something only I can do. What will surprise you, but may also challenge you a bit, is that other people are going to be there. So it's like joining a class, you're joining a class and suddenly there are other people too. And that could work very well for you. It could be something you just didn't expect, or it could be something that is a bit challenging because you're very much, I know what my purpose is, I know what I'm doing. And in most of the time that's great, but there could be a challenge around that. You may find that it is harder to liberate the thoughts of others, that people actually kind of like the way that it is. So there could be, how is this serving other people? How is the current thing? Like if you were looking at a political system, for instance, and you go into the system that's dominant at the moment, but you can see all these things that have become really power and ego oriented, or serve certain people but not others. This is like understanding how it serves those that follow it. And it may surprise you. It is when people talk about memes. So like memes these days, people just think about, funny sort of like pictures that go around X or whatever. So, and that's fine. But there's actually, the true meaning of meme is an idea that isn't really based in reality, but based in how it serves a collective. It serves a society. It serves social control. It serves the elite. It serves whatever it might be. So, an idea might be about a particular type of political system, and it is presented as though it is unassailably the only way you would do it. But if you actually look at it, if you go, who benefits, qui bono, you'll find it benefits some more than others. And you will find that either probably isn't completely applied the way that it says it is, like the people aren't really walking the talk, or it has other problems within it for a broader sort of social fabric. This is just an example. But when you look at that and you try and talk with logic, because you have logic, you're very logical, you may find people just don't, because it serves them. They don't even want to hear it. So there could be sort of a pushback from groups. That you really have to learn how to appeal to the heart and be really realistic about that. That it's not going to be enough just to have the best argument or the most compelling analysis. You're actually going to have to, with the Page of Cups and the Four of Spirit, there's something in this where you have to appeal to the heart of others involved, particularly if you want to change it. But even to learn it and be accepted as having those skills. There's some sort of groupthink associated with this. And, there will be certain things that are okay about that, but there are also things that you may find are challenging. So it's very interesting, this energy for you. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use, in fact, the companion deck to the Familiar's Way Tarot, which is the Familiar's Way Oracle. And this is like animals. So we're just going to shuffle and get you a couple of animal spirits to actually help you in this next step. So we have the snake. It doesn't really surprise me given what you're dealing with. And the leopard. Oh, wow. Like even before anything else, just intuitively, really interesting. The snake, you could be dealing with snakes, be as wise as serpents, all of that kind of thing. And the leopard doesn't change its spots. Like that's really interesting. More specifically, going to what this particular deck talks about with this. The snake here, I want to talk about that first because I actually think it shows an alternative meaning for what you find is revealed to you that you didn't expect or what might be challenging. The snake is about shedding old skin, like bringing in the new. So there certainly is a sort of sense that if you are going into something that you want to shift and change that is already an established belief system or doctrine or something, snake will definitely help you with that. But it's also about shedding your own emotional pain and being able to heal yourself. So there is a possibility that the other thing that might happen that is surprising is that you, with the new people that you connect with this, find a different energy in your heart. Like, it's not going to take you off your life purpose. It might surprise you. You might go into something thinking this system is completely corrupt, and then you go into it and you find actually there's a lot of people in here that I really connect to, and a lot of what I was seeing as corrupt is kind of like my own issues from the past, and I'm projecting it. There could be a liberation of your mind. So it's going to depend. Different people, it will be for different things. For some, it's just an energy here to help you deal with this transformative energy that you can only do once you've fully understood the thing that you're trying to transform. But for others of you, you may be transformed by it when you actually realize it had things to offer you didn't expect. Depends very much what that judgment, awakening card's going to be. It's like, what is the aha moment operating here? Leopard brings you power and leadership. So it is all about, out of this, you're meant to sort of lead in some way. I think it's sort of like reminding you of that and reminding you of your strength, reminding you of your Lyra sort of strength here, your strength in terms of confidence and so forth. That this is a detour on a leadership path in one form or another. Now, people have sometimes said to me, like you talk about leadership a lot. I'm not talking just about, moving up to be a CEO or something. You can be a thought leader. You can be a leader spiritually. You can be a leader in your friendship circle to help with something. So it just depends on the application. This is your personal leadership. But as I say, there's some belief structure, doctrine, qualification or whatever that you need to do first to be able to do the transformation and to lead. So those particular energies are here to help you do that. So let's also look at the personal. So if that's the sort of like the animal spirits around it, what are the personal energies around this? So one of the things that I want to look at is what are a couple of aspects within you that will really help you, and what are a couple of aspects you're going to encounter. So this is just a deck that just has sort of words to show particular personal attributes. So for you, a couple of attributes that are going to be really important. Firstly, psychic. Okay, your psychic ability is important. So as I say, so you're not going to necessarily completely not use it, but I think you can use it as part of your analysis, but I don't think you're necessarily going to show it a lot, but you will, maybe some of these sort of more subtle energies are going to help you. But you are psychic, that's what I'm saying. You are more like the High Priestess really than the Hierophant, but this is sort of something where you are dealing with established belief, but you certainly will use your psychic abilities. And being adventurous, so that Lyra energy. Also to some degree adventurous in terms of like how you think with Alpha Centauri. So your psychic ability will help navigate you. Your sense of courage and adventure will make you not feel so frustrated, because I feel like it's almost a little bit frustrating, this step, but you get through it and it's important to have it. What are a couple of the key qualities you're going to encounter in others with this? Masculine, okay. For some of you, this might be with the High Priestess reverse and the Empress reverse and then the Sage of Support, even though the Sage of Support there looks more feminine than masculine to me. But there might be a sort of thing about, like the kind of more masculine structures and masculine belief structures that you're bringing the more feminine energy into. That could apply. Otherwise, I think people of action, people who want to see action, people who want to do that, and you may deal with quite a lot of men as a result of this in one form or another. And soft, okay. Maybe that's going to surprise you. It's sort of like there is that energy, but there is a softness and an openness. Like maybe it's going to be simpler and you're going to have more connection. For some of you, there might be an attraction that occurs out of this. It might be the last thing you expect when you're going in about the thought and the learning and your path, and then suddenly you fall in love. That's possible for some of you. And it doesn't really matter they're masculine, but like I just sort of feel there could be sort of something about the divine feminine and divine masculine. If you're kind of going in a little bit with the divine feminine, that kind of balance could be happening. So that's interesting. There's something surprising. You're going to find the people, I think, by and large for most of you, are more open to something different than you expect. But they like action. They like to see, and they'll like your mind. They'll like the way that you see things and analyze things, and that you have that sense of adventure. Okay, we're also going to get fortune energy. So also going back to the other part of the Arcanum Vitae deck, there's a part of it that's like Lenormand. So we're just going to pull 3 cards for the fortune energy around this. Cross, It's very, I think for most of you it is very spiritual. Bouquet. Heart. Oh, there could be love. There could be love. It's really funny because I thought, I don't think this is going to be about romance. If it is, it's like really unexpected in the middle of something like getting a qualification or moving up the ladder in a job or dealing with a spiritual group that you think really needs reform, but you've got to understand it first, or whatever it is. Certainly your heart is in this, and something that is very close to you and dear to your heart is going to be successful. Bouquet, you know, there are rewards, there are good things coming out of it, but it's a very serious undertaking, very likely to be spiritually involved with the cross, very kind of karmic, this is important. This is not light, but there is also joy within it, which is lovely. You could also have like, you know, past loved ones or sort of ancestors helping you and watching you in navigating this as well. So I think you've got a lot of support and a lot of protection, which is nice. And I think that was sort of Alpha Centauri was saying that. So I feel like the people, you know, within your spirit team, your ancestral line, your past loved ones that are very, very clever and think things through, they're with you as well, I would say, if there's an energy like that around you. Okay, so just to finish off, we're just going to get a couple of signs. And the first sign is going to be guidance for you on the path. The second sign is going to be a blessing that this will bring you. So guidance. Umbrella, protection, catharsis, emotional support, love, open heart. I do think it's saying it over and over, whether or not there is a love relationship that comes out of this. You're going into something that feels very, very intellectual, very much about beliefs, that you could be sort of going in expecting to have pushback, or it is, as I say, a detour that's a little bit frustrating. You are protected in all of this, but it's also saying have an open heart. There'll be emotional support. There'll be all of that kind of thing around you, maybe in a way that you don't expect. And the blessing that will come from this next step in your path. Soap, detox, cleansing, karmic power, self-care, renewal. Okay, the renewal of the snake. You will change and renew. You will maybe change and renew and cleanse out something that needs to be. It depends on what this is that you're doing, but very strong karmic sort of energy. You're clearing some karmic energy for yourself, for others, for a belief system, whatever it is. This is something that is on a cause, I think, but is also self-care. And I think it kind of like revives you for the next stage of the journey. So again, I feel like you're going down a path, you go on a detour, and then you're going to meet the path again. But you will be renewed and ready to go forward at that point, and the blocks will be removed. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Empress card from the Star Brides Tarot, and it represents, amongst other things, the constellation of Andromeda. And so beauty, beauty, the feminine, the divine feminine, what is beautiful. Beauty always makes me think of Tippereth in the Kabbalah. So, the kind of connection to one's own personal soul beauty has got something to do with this. But this could cover anything from some creative project that you want, some emotional connection, some nurturing or growth energy that you want to support others with in some way, or just the kind of like the reclamation of the divine feminine within your life. There's something in that space around the next step, but it's a highly creative and promises abundance as well. So there's a promise that something very good, very close to the heart, as that energy shows there with the Venus side of things, but also it is traditionally a card of abundance. So there's something to do with that. It could be the pursuit of something that will be abundant. It could be the pursuit of or a pathway towards, could be for some of you motherhood or parenthood, depending upon your gender. Could be anything in that sort of space. It's interesting though, because I also think this is a journey to you. And the reason I say that is because of these two cards, which I'll get to. These are from the Arcanum Vitae deck, and they're kind of other representations, a slightly different take on major arcana cards. But firstly, let's have a look at the astrology energy. Firstly, we have Libra, diplomacy, balance, harmony, compromise. Libra is an air sign. It thinks, it wants things in balance, it likes beauty. Libra in many ways is a sign that does have a kind of beauty because of the symmetry about it. It's often, if you have Libra on the ascendant, you're often very physically beautiful. So there's something about beauty, the feminine, balance, but it's also about, how you would how you would weigh things up. What is of value? What do you want to nurture? What do you want to bring forward? What do you want to protect? And then we have Arcturus, which is a constellation. This talks about strong will, pioneer, forward-thinking, change-making. So whatever you're doing, you're certainly not, this is not a kind of, I'm going to be protective, that's my path, and I'm going to keep the status quo and keep everything in almost homeostasis. There is a forward movement. So there is a kind of a, for you in what you're creating, nurturing, protecting, loving, whatever it might be, there's a kind of a balancing energy operating as you go on your path between wanting to keep everything in balance, but also wanting to push things forward. And the interesting thing is that there's a similar sort of balance here, because the self card here is like the strength card and the etheric realms is the moon. This is kind of what we can know in ourselves. This is kind of what is the liminal space and what is more sort of numinous, I think. But the way that it's talked about here is also a bit like sun moon, because this is the moon card. But of course, the strength card in the major arcana is connected with Leo, which is ruled by the sun. So there's a kind of a divine feminine masculine balance here, an alchemical marriage thing. So there could be a relationship. This could be about a next step in a relationship. And it's like, how do you keep things balanced, but how do you keep it moving forward? That could be the case. You could be, some of you could be in a very lovely relationship. You're dating someone at the moment and you want to move it forward. You want to sort of see what comes with it, but there's a little bit of a worry of, will that upset the apple cart? You know, if I try and push too quickly, what happens? And so that's an example. But as I say, you could be nurturing, creating something. You've got things very balanced, but you want to do something different. So this could be, you know, that you are creating something, you know, you're writing a book, for instance, and it's very much within the genre, its structure is great, everything sort of fits with what the industry knows, but you want to actually push it that bit further. And how can you do that without losing the balance? So there's sort of something around that in your next step, getting the balance of where it is already and not destabilizing that, and being very clear on that, but equally not being constrained by that. Then the self card here, because it's strength, this is about what your strengths are, but the way that it is shown in this particular deck is like a hand mirror. And it talks about how sometimes we don't feel like looking at ourselves that much, and other times we feel the strength to do it. So there's something very much here about understanding yourself in this and understanding it in that balance. So again, for instance, if you had a novel that you were writing and you wanted to kind of make sure that it would be successful, but you also want it to be groundbreaking, what within you is you know, like really go within to know for you what is that balance all about? Is it right that you want to push it forward, or is that just ego? Is it right that you keep it in the status quo because your ego doesn't want to risk, you know, if you push it forward, whether people will like it or not? There's something here about what is this to you that you have to really work out. And there's a sense with the etheric realms that you also have to go within your emotional nature and also accept there's certain things that you don't know yet, and yet you've still got to make the next step even when you don't know. What does interest me is that there's a very similar symbol between the two of these. And it's really interesting because it looks like looking out into the firmament, and you came to the reading with the tarot deck that's based on the stars. I would think for many of you, if you have access to your astrology chart, look at that. That's going to help you make this next step. What are the transits going on? I think there's something about what's going on the celestial level and that the movement of the stars that could be really helpful in this, because it's kind of like you need the self-knowledge, but there's stuff that's even hidden from yourself. So, and the next step might be kind of bringing that to light, but I do think that the stars on some level will help you. And it will particularly help the Libra side of you that likes to know there's a logic to what you're doing, you know, that things are balanced and make sense. So we're going to use the tarot now, and we're going to see a little bit more about this next step. Then we're going to look about what you really know about and you're confident about and is really clear. And then also what's a bit hidden or challenging or yet to be revealed. So it's almost like the second of, after we've done looking at it, it's almost like the second row is going to be about the self, what you really know of yourself and the situation, and the third row is going to be about the etheric realms. That's what I feel in this reading for you. But let's see what we get with tarot, just as a little bit more, firstly, about the actual next step. 3 of Wands, 2 of Wands, Ace of Wands, wow, 9 of Cups, and then Chariot reversed. Okay. I was just thinking, it's in another reading that one of these cards was the Chariot, but it's interesting. Chariot here, particularly around Cancer, around the impact on others. For some of you, this has a lot to do with family and the protection of family. So it's not going to be for everybody, but with a Cancer-based card and then with the Empress, I do think for some of you that's going to be the case. So what this is kind of saying, it's really interesting the order this is going in with 3 of Wands, 2 of Wands, Ace of Wands. It feels to me like it's like I should be reading that like a book, and I was talking about a book before, so let's use it as an example. It's almost as though, say you had a creative product that you were doing, and again, this doesn't have to be, this could be a relationship that you're trying to take to the next step. This could be something in your career, it could be anything. But it's like you've got to a point where you've kind of distilled what this is really about and you're ready to really work out, do I go off with others or do I go off on my own? And that's the kind of energy I always get about the 3 of Wands. It's like, are others going to be with you or not? So there's this sort of thing of like, do I stick very much with the tried and true path, or do I go off on my own and explore what I want to do? And it's almost like, to work that out, you've almost got to go back to first principles. You've got to go back and think, well, what was I really trying to do with this? What's the real creative idea? Like, it's like, I don't want to go off on my own just to prove a point. Equally, I don't want to just stick with others just to feel safe. I need to kind of work out, what was this really about, and what was the first inspiration? What was the core of this? What's the true thing I'm trying to bring into being? If this is around love, it's like, do we move forward together? Well, what are the choices that we have, and what was the initial passion, and is this something that we would move forward on? So there's that kind of energy is around passion, the creative idea, all of that kind of thing. And it's almost like the next step is to go backwards a bit, to go back to first principles. That gives you the best chance of happiness with this, because it really is asking you to go, there's a part of you that wants to fit in with social conventions, industry conventions or whatever, to give the best chance for whatever you're doing, love, creativity or whatever. But there's another side of you that wants to break the envelope a bit and do something that's really new and different. Going back to first principles will help you work that out, help you remember what your wish was. And it's saying, don't worry if this means that it takes a bit longer, or that you feel you're suddenly off your path, because you're probably going to be going to the realms of the emotion when you get to that, particularly with Cancer being sort of a water sign, all that kind of thing. But there's a sense, it also, I think, with the Chariot reversed, what this is also saying is, this is an important relationship, creative thing or whatever, but it's not so tied to your ultimate fate, destiny, life purpose that you have no choice. It's saying you actually have a lot of choice here. You have a lot of choice here. The aim and the drive to do whatever this is, to connect in whatever way, may be about your fate and your destiny, who you are, but your choice at the moment it's not really impacting that. So you have a lot of liberty. So that's nice. So what can you sort of confidently know in the next step? Page of Pentacles, 7 of Wands, the Knight of Cups reversed, then the Waning Moon. Okay, so we have moon cards that are in this deck as well too, as additional cards. So, you know, this is actually a very practical decision. Whatever this is, it's a practical decision. And you are ready to step up and do whatever it is. There's not a problem with that. You're ready to do that. You're the right person to do that. But you have to be you need to let go, in a sense, of almost the romanticism around whatever this is. Even if it is a love relationship at this point, deciding to go to the next step is about, what does that mean in practical terms? And are you feeling ready? It's not really, oh, well, the romantic thing to do is to do this, and if I don't do it, there's not romance. It's like, that's not really the point at the moment. You need to release certain emotional patternings or issues that you have about yourself compared to sort of the emotional side, whatever it is, or doubts that you have in yourself. There's some romanticism, there's some sort of almost sacred cow that you need to kind of release, because this is a very practical decision. Whatever it is, it's not just kind of, do I do something or not? It's, how do I do it, and what's the actual outcome going to be? You know, the Empress is about the harvest, about outcomes. So you know this is a practical decision, even if it's a very emotional issue. So what either may you not know, or what could be challenging in the path, this next step in the path? We have the Queen of Swords reversed, the 10 of Wands reversed, the 9 of Wands, and the New Moon, New Beginnings. Okay, all right. So So a few things here. Again, I might talk about this as a creative thing, but the same thing could apply to a relationship, to a next step in a career, whatever, where there's a very practical decision here that has to go back to your first principles of what you really wanted. And you've got to be a little bit detached about it. Sort of in your mind is good, balanced about it, but also thinking in the forward thing. You are going to hit times where you might be very self-critical with the Queen of Swords reversed. You might also find criticism comes to you that's not fair, but I think this is mainly you being very self-critical because you may take on too much or try to go too quickly. So you're going to hit a point in this path where it's like, I've got to simplify this and I've got to allow myself to do it. And so it may be that at this step, for many of you, it's more about keeping things in balance to create something. If you want to tilt at the world and change the world, that might be after you've established something. So don't overload yourself because this is a marathon, not a sprint. This is going to take time. It's also saying, don't think, oh, if it's not working instantly at this point, I've got to give it all up and start again. This is a point in something, a relationship, a creative project or whatever, that you have to see yourself past. Even though you might be sort of thinking, oh, is it really going to work? And it just feels like it's endless. Don't give up. Like one of the things I've seen sometimes with creative people is that if they don't instantly get the response, particularly as, like this is a response with library, with how are other people receiving this? If things don't happen quickly, they just go, I can't wait, I can't deal with this. I'll just start something new. That's obviously wrong. I think this is saying whatever it is, relationship, creative project, whatever the thing is that we're talking about, is actually a good thing to take forward. You are meant to do something with this. You could kind of give it up if you wanted with the Chariot reverse, but it's not actually going to serve you to do that. Just going back to the start, you're going to hit this same point again. You're hitting a point where it's uphill, I think, and there are choices to make. What do I carry with me in my kit bag to walk up the hill that keeps me balanced and keeps everything kind of working with other people, but also means I'm still can move forward. It's kind of like you have to lighten your load a bit because it's a long thing and not go, oh, I'll just go down to the bottom of the hill and see if there's an easier way of doing it. Whatever this is, there isn't an easier way of doing it, but it is worth doing. It is worth doing. So let's get you a couple of animal familiars that might be able to help you on your journey, on your next step in the path. Rabbit, and onyx. I think that's how you pronounce that. I'm a little bit unsure with the way that it's written. So I just checked the book to see it's oryx, not onyx. I've not seen that sort of animal before. I'm not that familiar with every animal in the world, I have to say. So it's interesting, these two as familiar. So the rabbit is meant to sort of help you with creative leaps and so forth, and to move forward and to kind of have that sort of speed and magic and to bring luck. So this is saying there is luck around this, even if the next step feels like, oh, it's the beginning of a much bigger journey than I expected. And there's things I have to balance here between what I want and whatever others want in this. Rabbit is giving you that forward momentum and so forth. Oryx brings you the stamina. It's all about surviving in conditions where you have to go a long time and do a long journey. So it's very much saying that. You'll have the speed and the luck where you need it, and you'll be able to connect with the right people, but you also have to know that this is why it's if you go back to the beginning, you're just going to start all over and you just hit this point again. This is the hard yards point of whatever this is. If it's around a relationship, it's the real stuff to work out whether this is an important relationship to stay in. If it's a career, this is the I'm going to really prove myself over the next year, and I'm going to really show that I'm ready for the big leagues. If it's around creativity, it's I've had the first rush and the enjoyment of doing the creative thing. Now I've got to kind of work on it and get it out there and find the people. So whatever it is, this is saying your next step is the beginning of the hard yards, but there is luck, there is luck around this, and you have the strength and the endurance to do it. So that's very, very positive. Let's have a look at some personal characteristics. So I'm going to look at a couple of personal characteristics that you could use very well with this, and then I'm also going to get a couple that you will encounter at this stage of your path, journey, etc. So personal characteristics that are useful for you. Firstly, determined. Yeah, I'm going to put that over here. You are going to have to be determined. And and this is also to make decisive, be decisive. So I think that, Libra can sometimes be a bit indecisive. You're going to have to be decisive about where the direction you're going in and be determined. And mysterious. Okay, so you don't have to show everybody what you're doing. You can keep a lot of this to yourself. You can have a little bit of glamour magic or something like that. In terms of what you're going to experience from others, feminine. Okay, that's interesting with the Empress. Others who have similar sort of energy to you, perhaps, or there's receptivity. There will be receptivity. So it doesn't really feel like it's a lot of blocks in what you're trying to create. And confident. Okay, there may actually be a woman. This might say there was a woman or someone who has very feminine aspects anyway, or identifies as female. There could be a confident, because I feel like that's confident, not confident, in the way that that's written. So I think that this is someone, you will have someone that you can confide in. So this might be part of the luck as well too, and helping you with the stamina. You won't be sort of on your own, which is nice. Let's also get, out of the similar deck, the sort of like the Lenormand part of this deck, 3 cards of fortune around this step for you. Protection. You are protected. I think a lot of this might be around a confidence that you have. Like it's endurance, but you're protected. You're going to be fine. Cross. Oh, that's interesting. That came up for one of the others. Some of you might have come to more than one reading. This is important. This is a big thing. And there is spiritual protection, really strong spiritual protection here. And crossroads. But yeah, there are choices that you have to make. It's going to lead you to some choices. And I really feel like it's showing like that the multiple benefits are moving forward, not going backwards. This is why it's saying don't get discouraged and think, oh, I'll just go and start with something else. Whatever you have here, relationship, creative project, career aspiration, is actually worth going forward. The more that you go through this, it multiplies in the options and the direction it takes you. Don't sort of go backwards, because you're just going to end up back here again at some point. So very, very strong message along those lines. Okay, what we're going to finish up with is a sign or a message of guidance and a sign and a message of a blessing around this next step in your road, your pathway. So the guidance energy for you is leg, forward motion, confidence, mobility, autonomy. Yeah, just keep moving. Just keep moving forward. You know, it may be that sometimes it's going to be tiring, but that's the thing, the forward momentum. Don't really doubt what you're doing. Just look at how you move forward to get that balance between what in a sense is socially or otherwise acceptable and what you want to sort of like change or push the envelope a bit on. And then the blessing of all of this for you. Okay, nose. Instinct, intuition, sensitivity, curious, inquisitive, probing. So I think that there's something here about you'll get a real instinct. The further you go along with this, the more your instincts are going to send you in the right direction. So, and you'll get the right smell for what, like maybe even like kind of clairvoyance abilities, like kind of like being able to smell what is good and so forth. The other thing too is that in holistic healing, the nose is the self, and this was talking about the self. I think that you will get from this a real sense of who you are and your identity. Like this is going to really start to show the world what your identity is and bring that to the surface. So I think that kind of the blessing goes back to the self. But you just need to keep moving forward. Don't get dissuaded. If you get tired, take a little bit of a rest, but then keep moving forward. Don't give up on something. The big thing of this is whatever it is, don't give up on it, because you are going to get over this. You're going to be able to get past it, and then you're going to really move forward fast. But it doesn't matter. If you go and start something else, you're just going to reach this point again. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope it was helpful. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Dream of the Nile Tarot and the Adjustment or Justice card. So I do feel with this deck, it's about the mysteries, and it's really interesting because at least 3 of these cards really are like that. And then Sagittarius, to me, feels like it's kind of action and philosophy associated with that, and freedom in this space of the mysterious. This is a very, very spiritual reading, even though justice is traditionally connected to things of like, what is just within the world, the rule of law in the world, as opposed to maybe the rule of the heavens, which would be more like judgment. But I think because you've come to this particular deck, which is very channeled and very much of the mysteries, there is some justice or balance, or as this talks about, using the sort of Thoth sort of energy that this particular deck has, more adjustment, balance. This is sort of like Ma'at in the Egyptian pantheon. So the goddess that you meet when you die and your heart is weighed against a feather to see how pure your heart is and so forth. So there's something here about spiritual transformation, knowledge of self, but also how that applies, because as I say, adjustment or justice is in this world, to some balance within this world. Then we have two astrology cards, as I say, Sagittarius, which is sort of adventure and freedom and independence and philosophy and all of that kind of thing. So there's sort of something, this pathway that you're about to go on, this next step, I think you see as being freeing, like maybe even the road less traveled or something like that. And there's some truth to that, I think. But it's also an interesting world that you need to be open to a lot of information and things maybe that you don't expect, and to be able to integrate them. These two cards come from the Arcanum Vitae deck, and it is that one part of it is like a reworking of the major arcana. So this is the Star card and this is the High Priestess. The High Priestess is pretty obvious around the dark moon, around sort of all the things that have to do what needs to end, what is the shadow, integrating, getting advice from the moon cycles. The High Priestess is connected to the moon, prophetic energy, intuition, moving between the worlds. So this again to me is such a representation of justice as both in the world and in the sort of the celestial level or the kind of liminal space. So I think there's something about justice and balance for you in both the material world and also in the liminal space. There's a connection. There's a very as above, so below energy to this. And it's all about going into that space and uncovering what needs to go, what needs to leave to get this balance right, what needs to end, but also what needs to be known and unveiled in a sense and seen. And that's interesting with the way that the star is portrayed here, because it's called purification. So it's a sort of sense of, when we get right down to it, we're all made of the dust, in a sense, of dying stars. So we're connected to the cosmos on a very broad level, and that can be very liberating and bring back hope to know that we're all part of something eternal. But it is also seeing the star as bringing back hope by purification. And if we remember that the star follows the tower, it's sort of almost like in something, a roadblock that you might have had, something that really changed your world in a sense, that set you off on this, a shock to the system, something that no longer works for you, something that you thought was unjust, something like that, setting you on this path. But a big part of this path is about understanding both within yourself and others what is light and what is shadow, because this has a Latin saying, transit umbra lux permanent. And basically what it means is that light changes or moves or changes, but shadows remain, basically, as a rough translation. So whatever one does, and no matter what balance you get, there is still the shadow. So there's something in this, a freedom, a liberation, a different philosophy that I think has been brought about because we got that card first, through a change, a shock to the system, or something that no longer works for you. So this is a step on a path. It is a new path. With some of the other readings, it felt more like it's a stage on a path you're already on, but this is a new path. It calls a lot on your psychic ability and your capacity to move between worlds. It may even be a path that you primarily do in meditation, in shamanic journeying, in sleep or something like that, lucid dreaming. But it will have a material impact too, and it has something to do with balance and fairness as well. So very interesting energy. So we're going to use tarot. We're going to firstly get a little bit more detail on this step in the path. We're going to look then at what you confidently know about it, or what you can already see. And then we're also going to look at what could be challenging or that you don't see yet. So a little bit more about what is this moving between the worlds type of energy to purify, bring back hope, but also recognize that the shadow is also there as well. So what are we looking at here? We have the Three of Cups, the Tower again. Well, the Tower energy, I said like the Tower, like I'm sure it's not the Tower again because it's the Star, but yeah, big changes. The Queen of Pentacles, the Three of Pentacles reversed, and the Five of Wands. Okay. So, this has to do with other people. It has to do with harmony with other people in one form or another. This could be about friendships, it could be in a workplace, it could be a love relationship, though I actually think with 2 3s it's more likely to be friendship, community groups, like things like that, rather than, it's not the 2s coming up here, it's the 3s. So I feel like there's something here around the harmony and the joy and the celebration of something that has been disturbed with the Tower by a major change or a bit of a shock to the system. You're dedicated to whatever this is and you're dedicated to the people you care about, but not all of them are going to follow on this pathway. This is what part of the ending is, and there is some conflict associated with it. So I feel like it's interesting too, the way the Tower is represented in this card. It's like an aliens coming in. So I feel like there's a revelation associated with the Tower there. So I feel like it's something either just has or is about to, and this is what will trigger this, be a revelation about harmony or a lack thereof in some group or some common purpose. And really one needs to kind of purify the energy by only moving forward with those that are able to pursue this even after whatever the shock to the system. So this could be sort of something like in some sort of like social cause or whatever, there was a lot of harmony, but then a shock came to the system. You found out that, one of the people was embezzling the money or something. It's just using the example. And so if some people might go, I just can't deal with it anymore and walk away. Others will go, no, I'm dedicated to the cause. We'll just clean up shop. We'll purify it. We'll bring everything to the surface. We won't leave one stone unturned, even if there's conflict, because what we're doing matters. And I think this is a thing. I think whatever you're doing matters and you're meant to stay loyal to it. But there's some shock. It doesn't have to be as big as that, but there's some revelation and it affects who is going to move forward on this. So that's going to shift to some degree. So what will you sort of be able to confidently know and move forward with on this next step in your path? And I think this is about you being fair with this. You may have a decision about who stays in, and it's very, very important that it is a pure and balanced decision. Okay, so what can you confidently know? We have the Five of Cups, the Nine of Pentacles, the Three of Swords reversed, and the Ace of Wands reversed. Okay. There's something that is going to be disappointing here. You're going to be disappointed in some other people, maybe disappointed in yourself for not having seen something. There's something that's a bit disappointing. But the kind of almost material health of whatever this is still very, very sound. It's just, so, like whatever the revelation is, whatever the Tower moment is, there's still a lot to go. This can still last. It can still move forward. It has enough strength and resources to move forward. The pain of the separation is not going to be as great as you expect, but there is going to slow progress for a while. And the Sagittarian part of you that wants to move forward is maybe going to feel a little bit frustrated, a little bit disappointed, but this is still worth doing, whatever this is. If it's a relationship, now, okay, if this was that, I don't feel it is because of the 3, but let's just say, for argument's sake, with the 2 3s, that this is, you're in a relationship and you find out there was a third party. Then it looks as though maybe it was something that didn't actually happen yet with the 3 of Pentacles reversed. It was just a possibility. And if you recommit and reconnect, it can occur, but you do have to face it and deal with it. And it could be a bit disappointing. Or you move away from the concept of that relationship, but you stay committed to what you want within, and you stay committed to your values in relationships. The pain of the separation won't be as much as you think, but for a while you may not want to pursue it. So if it's around a relationship, it might be something like that. There is shadow energy to deal with this, but I think by and large it's more likely to be in a group or something like that. And it's a little bit disappointing in the way that some people respond, but you will be okay. So what will be challenging or a little bit hidden that's worth knowing about in this next step? And remember, this is very psychic. This is like, some of this may all happen in a liminal space, and you psychically know it, but it will have a material reality. You can know that you're right about something if that's the case. But what's sort of a bit hidden or challenging about it? 7 of, I think that's Swords, but I'm going to have to check. No, it's actually of Pentacles. Sometimes I have to check with this. It's not absolutely clear what these are, and I haven't fully got across this deck. So 7 of Pentacles. The 2 of... I'm thinking that will be Pentacles as well too, but I'm going to double check that. The Warrior, which is the Knight of Swords reversed, and the 6 of Pentacles reversed. But I'm just going to double check that one as well. I'm glad I checked because that's air. So I probably should have guessed by the pointy things there, but it looked very similar to there. So, I'm getting to know this deck's beautiful deck. I really love the work of this creator, but sometimes you just need to get familiar with what the imagery is. So we've got the 7 of Pentacles, we've got the 2 of Swords, the Knight of Swords reversed, and the 6 of Pentacles reversed. So what is yet to be revealed or could be sort of a bit challenging, it's sort of both in the realm of what you believe about things and its material outcome. So it's not emotional, which is interesting. There seems to be emotion around this, but in the end, the way that you're going to deal with it is very material and it's very logical. So that's interesting. You are going to have a challenge about working what is worth going forward with this. There is something that is worth going forward, but making the decisions around that can be challenging. It is saying take your time. Don't rush into a decision. There will be people who are equals to you, people who can sort of like be collaborators. This is about some form of collaboration or connection. You will find your equals, but this is like there's a process in this about knowing where to go to do that and how to build this. That's not going to be immediately apparent. You're not going to have all the answers. So this is probably why it's saying going between the worlds. It's something I think that happens in the material world. Then your psychic ability, your ability to go into the liminal will help you find those answers. Don't rush it. It's not going to be clear at first. The right people and connections are going to come. It is going to work out, whatever this is. Or as I say, if it was a relationship and you leave it, you'll find the right person who's more an equal to you and there is a growth opportunity. There's something imbalanced if this is about love relationship, but whatever it is going to work out because you do have right on your side. It's been there right from the beginning, but something's a bit clouded, something's a bit not clear. And so what the growth and the right connections are not going to be immediately apparent. It's going to be a bit of a challenge to find that out. So give yourself time doing that. So let's also get you a couple of spirit animals to support you, pile 3. Seahorse, and horse. So that's interesting. Seahorse and horse. That's an interesting combination. So just pause for a second to have a look because I wanted to get a sense. I was sort of like not getting anything off the seahorse, so I wanted to just pause and have a look. So this is interesting. This adds another layer to it. It makes a little bit more sense now. This is why I'm sort of feeling like it's about a group or people or something like that, but it's not, and something needs to be shifted or let go of. Seahorse actually helps with detaching from ancestral trauma. So there's something here. This is why it's very much in the liminal space. It's becoming much clearer now. A group that is maybe connected ancestrally or tribally or in a community or something like that. There's ancestral stuff here. You're almost like a shaman. You're like a shaman going into the liminal space to help clear that energy. You're going to be doing that. And you know you need to do it because the horse wants you to be free. You can't be free to do it until that's done. And even when it's done, remember this says that the shadows remain. There will still be some shadows, but it will free you up enough. The Sagittarius energy wants to be free. That's connecting to the horse. But the seahorse is the more powerful spirit in many ways at the moment. This could be your reward, but at this point in time, this is all about very deep stuff in a group, in a community, in a family, in a relationship. And it won't be as painful as you think, but you've got to take your time with it. And I also think this is saying your mind on its own can't do it. This is why you have to go. Don't think this is all saying just go slow. I think it's also saying that this is a time where you really have to go into the liminal space. It's not all, you're not just going to be able to think it through, but you will find the growth and the balance that is necessary, the balance that adjustment is promising there. So that takes it to a whole other level of depth around this. So interesting. So then we want to have a look at what personal characteristics you will use well in this and also what you're going to encounter. And this is very much based around other people as well. So and characteristics that you will use at this stage of your journey. Emotional. Yeah, it's not just in your mind. Your emotional space is very, very important here. Clearing the emotional space. It's not just, as I say, adjustment or justice sort of feels very much of the mind, but this is like, no, you have to get to the emotional side of things. Fairy. Okay, so you could have kind of that sort of support and help from the Fae realm. Sort of interesting. Or your own kind of Fae tendencies. Your capacity to go between the realms is going to be part of this. Then what are you going to meet in other people at this stage? Non-judgmental. That's good. I think a lot of this happens in the liminal space. And you could worry about this. It's sort of because you're looking for balance and justice. But it's I think you're going to find it easier than you think. Other people are ready for this. And Zen, yeah. I think you're going to really help. I think you're going to clear, in this stage of your journey, clear in the liminal space, a lot of ancestral trauma. You're going to actually kind of liberate not just yourself, but many other people. And if there are some that have to sort of depart and not be part of things anymore, that's fine. It will be easeful. It's even some of you might be a medium actually, and this might be helping spirits move on. That's a possibility as well, because again, Mart was sort of a bit of a threshold in the afterlife. So some of you may be doing that, but you do it very, very well. And it is within the sort of space of the liminal. So that as this is built, this reading of all of them is built and become clearer as we go through. So that's interesting. So then let's also have a look at some fortune energy for you in this stage. I think for some of you, you're learning you're a shaman, you're a medium, something like that. And you have a very important ability and an important step now. But it will ultimately help you become free as well too. So some fortune energy around it. Key, yeah. You have the key. You're the key to go forward and do this. Definitely. Definitely. And it's the key to your freedom as well. And the key to bring things into balance. Crossroads, it's a decision, it will also bring you to a crossroads, to a decision about what freedom means for you. And mirage, okay. So I think that there is always the possibility in all of this about what's real and what isn't real. This is why you've got to really kind of use your high priestess energy. The shadows around this, some of the shadows will turn out to be a mirage, and some of the things that look good will turn out to be a mirage. But you will have the key to make the decisions that are necessary. Some of the trauma will also prove eventually spiritually to be a mirage and to be able to be dissipated pretty quickly. But there is definitely a bit of a thing here about just be discerning in what you do. Some of what you see may not be exactly what it says. So again, a lot of this you can't get through your mind, but it will probably also say sometimes you've got to come out of that space and you've got to actually do some research and think about it, because otherwise you could misinterpret things. So you've got a very important role here, and it's a very specific balance and not setting things free till you've got that balance in play. Okay, so to finish up, we're going to get a card that gives you some guidance as symbols for guidance, and then also a card that is symbolic of the blessing of this for you. So the guidance for you. Wow, video games, skills, abilities, problem solving, tests, challenges. See this as a challenge, see it as a bit of a game. See almost being in the other realms as being almost in virtual reality. Because you're able to see that, understand that, learn, get the keys. You often get keys to go to different levels in video games. There's something here about that kind of virtual reality experience that is helpful to, in a sort of an analogy way, to what you're doing here. And then the blessing for you. Boat. Adventure, travel, exploration. Yeah, you get the freedom to move forward having done it. Love, spiritual journey. Like this This is almost, I don't know whether you kind of spiritually contracted to do this or whether it's just that this is who you are and it's part of your spiritual journey. But once you've sort of done this, you get to move forward. Boat to me, I also think like the ship in the Lenormand is that your ships come in, like some real benefits come from doing this. But you've got to kind of build your skill to do this and trust yourself and like be prepared to look in the shadow and so forth and clear the shadow. But know that you're never going to clear everything because that, life is that. But you're clear enough to move forward. So I hope that that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.